And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. And we're back. Thank you again for joining me today. Today is March 25th, Friday. So April is fast approaching. So in this week's episode, we'll be talking about some of the more interesting things that's been going on this past week or so. So our first topic will be covering, as you may have noticed in our title, it's Apple at it again. In this case, with regards to their recent launch of the Apple's Studio, with regards to the display that they are offering, and there's a one small glaring issue that could derail your whole experience, especially if you're a very reliant on on productivity activities in these days. Anyway, so why would Apple intentionally made it difficult for users? But we'll take a look. It caught my attention when it was discussed during the wine show at with Linus, and got me interested. So I wanted to share the topic as well. Now, with the chip shortage we were talking about last week, maybe Ford was on the right track with regards to sell the vehicles regardless if it's incomplete. Even now, Toyota's situation with the chip shortage has hampered their production, and it would significantly hamper them even further. Now, not because of the chip shortage per se, but due to the earthquake that recently happened this past week or so, has significantly halted their entire production line and supply chain. So we'll talk about that. Also, we'll be talking about one of the growing companies that's now expanded in Asia, in particular in Singapore, the Shake Shack desserts. We'll take a look at that, what made them successful. And now, would people, prefer their products? Is it a good choice? And is it going to be available here in our country as well sometime in the near future? So we'll take a look at that. Next is Facebook. For all the benefits that Facebook draws in terms of connectivity, getting closer, and being able to communicate with your family and loved ones. Sad to say, they're so reliant on their revenue, generating revenue with advertisements, which is fair enough. But how they go about, generating those revenues at any cost, has some repercussions here. And in this case, they're now, receiving backlash in terms of accepting crypto ads. There's nothing wrong with crypto ads to begin with, but having fake crypto ads allowed in their platform, it's kind of irresponsible in their case. Obviously, they make boatloads of money from those ads, but this is what happens when you make a wrong decision that can have a severe impact in your platform here. But will this have a long-term effect on the company? Who knows? But we'll talk about that in a bit. And finally, a person's work with continuing with what you were used to before the pandemic could totally shift differently, totally different compared to the present now. And a good sample here is our fellow Filipino who's a jeepney driver who makes, an honest living by driving, to the metros. The question is, will it still be enough to sustain yourself, even your family? So we'll take a look at that as well. Anyway, so for our first topic, as mentioned, regarding Apple's, somewhat, it's kind of confusing what's Apple's intention here. Now, obviously, they make tremendous products, especially in terms of how intuitive, user-friendly it is. They make it for their consumers, which you have a lot of followers, but, there are always flaws in terms of how they offer it. Obviously, they want you to make that extra purchase, a more expensive item than necessary, but it's their prerogative. If consumers like their products or if it has value, then I'm all for it, right? But here comes the Apple Studio display, as I mentioned. It's supposed to be a productivity screen. I think it has 5K resolution, which is nothing to boast about. But in terms of its size, obviously it's an Apple product, so it makes a strong case if you're a workhorse, or if it's needed in your type of work, which is fine, right? But one of the main issues which was discussed here in Ars Technica and in other platforms, which we will delve into deeply, with regards to how the price that they're offering obviously is somewhat way over compared to their counterparts in terms of remember the monitor stand that they're offering for $1,000, which seems uh, out of this world, but that's not the case here. But obviously, if you're charging for a premium price, which is fair enough, as long as you're providing high value for the product. Now, let's take a closer look here. Where's the article here? There you go. So according to arstechnica.com, the Studio Display, the Apple monitor, it has 5K capability, so it looks sleek if you have the complete set here. Where was it? There you go. And you can see here, if you have the latest MacBook, not MacBook, M1 computer, and you have, as you can see in the screen here, it looks tremendous, right? Minimalist, so to speak. But what they don't mention is what's behind the monitor, and I think you can see a brief glimpse regarding the power cable, right? Now it looks normal on the onset here, but one of the main issues that that you will see right away and has been talked about in many forums, which caught my attention, is with regards to the cable that is not removable, the power cable at that. So obviously, if you try to move the table, and you will have a difficult time, and imagine if that cable were to be tugged or be bitten by animals for some reason, and you cannot remove it so that you could easily replace it, just like with any other power cable for your monitor, then you're going to struggle mightily here. Now, it was mentioned in the one show here, which I'll show you in a bit, that Apple mentioned that the power cable is not removable, but as the case may be, they have other intentions, making it difficult for users to replace it easily, so that you have to go to their stores and pay a hefty fee, which is kind of bogus or kind of stupid if you think about it. But let's take a closer look with the video here. So this is the one show clip which was showcased a week ago, and they have clips here. Now let me showcase what I'm talking about here. So you can see here, it was mentioned in Apple Mac rumors that the power cable at the back is not removable. And obviously, for us not Apple users, it looks kind of ludicrous if you think about it, because of the logic of why would you not make it easier for your consumers to remove the plug here, for whatever reason are they justifying it. But anyway, so we see here at the one show with Linus and Luke discussing this topic. Now, it got Linus all riled up in terms of how stupid the situation is. So they wanted to showcase the product and to see for themselves if indeed the power plug was actually not removable. So let's see.
In non-removable power cable on the back that even
so as you can see here, they're discussing it, and it showed actually the
This
article that
display
was
XDR
posted
featuring
in
removable power
what do you call
cable.
this, in
British
Mac
YouTuber
rumors, was
Olivier
removed by,
demonstrated the
I
unique
think, by
work,
request
but
from
Apple's
the Apple themselves, which is
$1,600 starting price
kind of
display in this
surprising.
review.
But anyway, so let's
Display
skip
also
to
features
the part where they
non-interchangeable
were
stands,
discussing
meaning
the actual
customers must
product
choose
already.
which stand,
So let's
including a
see
base
the
mount
time code
adapter they want upon
12.
checkout, as it cannot be changed
Or was it
at a later date.
12:59?
It was made available for pre-order last week, so this is
Okay.
it. It's just a simple.
So here you go.
Sup, Jake
So
Novance, our
they were
producer's
planning on
heading over here with the
unboxing this, which
monitor.
they did in
Okay, you ready,
short
Luke?
circuit.
Yeah.
So they have a copy
Okay.
of the
Here,
monitor here, and as you can see, it's plugged in tightly.
You
Now,
want to do the honors?
Luke is going to try
Yeah.
and remove the plug, and
Hold on,
he's
let me
going to
just-
fail
Here we
miserably
go.
because obviously you do not want to break the
Okay,
screen. As you
so
can see, it's
you
very
guys
thin,
can-
so
you guys can see it here.
it
Oh,
can
okay,
break
okay, that's
easily
why the picture
here.
looked weird,
So
'cause
let
there's
me
this
remove my
oval
screen
hole in
so
the
you can see
stand.
better.
Okay, yeah, so the picture's
So you can
taken
see
through
here,
the stand.
Taken through the stand because the stand is not
the
removable.
ridiculousness of the
Oh.
stand that's not even removable, so make it even more
Okay,
difficult
Luke's
for
going
you
for it.
to remove the plug, if
Does
if
it
it was
feel-
originally easily removed. And the stand should be adjustable. Now obviously they
turn
want
it?
you to buy
Like,
the
can I
more
grab it?
Yeah, you
expensive
can grab it.
monitor stand, so that you can adjust the tilt
There's
and the
here,
pan
there's
and
just a little
so
mouse
forth,
pad
which
here
is
that you can use to
kind of
rest
stupid
on
if if you
or
think
anything.
about it.
I mean,
So
scratches
now
might
you're going
be
to see
surviving flaws
Linus
at this point.
try his hand later on and see if it's going to make any progress here. So
Maybe he's just super
let's
jacked.
try to jump
you could try
forward.
twisting it.
Where is it? There you go. 15.
Like try on
There you go.
Power cord is
the
not
power
So you
removable.
can
cord
see
is
here
not
below the
removable.
screen. So Luke is struggling mightily. So and
Well
he's
then,
not that comfortable
what is
Yeah,
unplugging
like
it. Now,
you can mess. I don't understand. Maybe he has
Linus is
the
going to see
XDR,
the photo, as you can
or
see in the
maybe he just
screen,
has.
that
Maybe
it
he
can be
genuinely
removed
has like a weird unit.
maybe he's
by
just
I don't know
confused?
who tweeted the
Do you want to give it a shot? I can
photo.
hold it.
Reckless, I
It's
think.
it
Anyway,
really
so
doesn't
you're
feel
going
like
to
it's
see
going
here,
anywhere though.
Linus.
Like
Give it a go and see what happens
Okay,
here.
yeah, I can.
So
I'll take a
let's
shot at it. Sure.
skip now.
I mean,
Okay. So you notice him pulling
okay.
with
got
force.
him.
And as you can see here, it was noted by Apple that the power cord is not
I mean, that looks
removable.
like
So
the
they do not
picture.
encourage it. But as you can see, Linus has already proven them
Okay.
otherwise, that it can be removed, but they made it difficult
It pulled
for
out.
people to
I
remove
just
it
had
or
to
to discourage them
give it a
from removing
good
it.
two-hander.
So that, as mentioned, as you can see, this device, which you have to go to Apple so that you can get it fixed, so that they can get it fixed with their own device, rather just a simple pull and plug on the device here, which is kind of, I don't know how you want to call it, but it's kind of, outrageous what they're doing here and unreasonable. But the problem here is, at the end of the day, will majority of their consumers, complain, so that, Apple will not do such, trivial things like this, which is kind of very anti-consumer here. Obviously, if it's a great screen, people would buy it regardless. But why make it more difficult for your consumers here? And sad to say, and I tend to agree with what Linus was mentioning in the video. I will leave the link in the description below so you can check out the full video there if you're interested. That he goes on to mention now the Apple users versus the smartphone users, and in terms of the totem pole, the Mac Studio users are very far few in between. So it's not going to even raise an eyebrow with regards to how it's going to affect the whole company, which is kind of sad and disappointing. But imagine if they were to do these kinds of shenanigans with regards to their Apple flagship iPhones. They would not dare do that, but they've been chipping it away in terms of removing the headphones, the charging brick, and then still offering a subpar storage at 64 gigabyte. Who even uses that amount of storage nowadays here? But the question here is, would consumers allow companies like Apple? Obviously, Apple is always at the forefront. Nothing against the company, but you have several companies taking advantage of their position in the market. That's why having this monopolistic positioning is never good for consumers. And obviously, for consumers, we have to protect our interests. That's why you always hear from Louis Rossmann, who's a big advocate for to repair your products. And obviously, once you buy a product, aren't you supposed to be the owner, not the company? And whatever they say that they're trying to protect their proprietary technology, it's a load of crap. Since if that were the case, then all of the products that we've been buying in the past, appliances, cars, and so forth, we're not allowed to get it fixed from a third party, professional. And it's not as if, if the company is capable of doing their job, fixing broken products that they made, I think people are willing to pay a substantial amount to get that peace of mind. But that's not always the case here. Obviously, they try to make it so difficult for you, and you have to spend a whole lot of money, which is kind of anti-consumer. And think of Tesla, right? If the battery pack in their Tesla vehicles is damaged, if you just need to replace a simple item for a small amount of piece of item, could save you a lot of headache. But obviously, to say that in their dealership that you need to replace the whole battery system, which is going to cost you almost buying practically a new car, which is, what's the point of buying a car if it's going to cost that much in terms of repair? That's why we always want options in terms of of product offering, service offering. If it gets broken, then we should have the discretion here. The question is, when will the governments see the light of day that it's not to the best interest of the consumers, or us for that matter, that those companies are taking advantage of all of us? Well, hopefully, enough people can raise their concerns that, that Apple would try to minimize and do away with those dirty tactics, so to speak. Obviously, a lot of Apple lovers will disagree with what I've said, But the point here is, they do make tremendous products, but obviously they want to make sure that you stay in the ecosystem. If you're not happy with their products, making it difficult for you to jump to the other platform, whether it's in using PC or even Android smartphones here. Anyway, we'll see what happens there. I'll keep everyone updated. Anyway, next in our topic is with regards to the chip shortage. In this case, another car manufacturer has been hit with the chip shortage, so that they have to reduce their expectation production. Not because of the pandemic. Part of it's part of the pandemic, but something more extraordinary occurred recently, in particular in Japan. So Toyota, obviously, which is based in Japan, was recently hit with an earthquake, a pretty substantial earthquake, to the point that it significantly hampered, shut down their operations recently here. So according to CNBC.com, so Toyota's major chip supplier suspended production due to the earthquake in Japan. So I'm assuming their main supplier is somewhere also based in Japan. So this is not looking too good. And obviously, no matter what forecast that you made, extenuating circumstances can derail your projections here. And as the case in point here has showcased here. So the auto companies most immediately impacted by the earthquake included Toyota, and you have Renesas Electronics, a major supplier of semiconductor chips for the car company, as mentioned. So obviously, earthquake is a major issue in Japan. Last time I visited, lucky enough, I didn't experience any of that tremors when I was visiting at the time. But it does happen from time to time. And if you recall what happened at Fukushima, the tsunami that caused the nuclear reactor to explode is disastrous. You could just imagine. So luckily, there were minimal damages compared to what happened way back at Fukushima. Anyway, so the earthquake, as mentioned here, has already added a tumultuous growing situation regarding the automotive supply chain, due to what's happening worldwide with regards to the pandemic, as well as the ongoing war with Russia and Ukraine here. So Toyota mentioned it's going to suspend operation at more than half of its operation across Japan. So that's pretty significant here. Obviously, that's going to delay even more productions of their vehicle. Now, how much? So we'll take a closer look at the details here. So you can see here the aftermath that you can see in one of their showrooms, that it's not something that you could just what do you call this? Push it away and say life goes on and nothing changed. But it is what it is. So it has already caused problems for their global supply chain, as mentioned. So the residual impact of a magnitude of 7.4 magnitude may not be much for some countries, but for their region, can be severe. And I think one of the videos or channels I've been following is abroad in Japan, Chris, who had a studio, and after the aftermath, he visited his studio, and you can see the thermal, the glasses, falling down, things on the table was damaged significantly, even to the point there were pipes that was broken, so there were water drippings. And if you were to see in many videos, you can see the constant shaking within the offices. So you could just imagine the horror for people to have experienced the actual earthquake at that time here. Anyway, going back here, so you have research firm LMC Automotive expects that the earthquake to lead to lower vehicle production. So from 25,000 to as much as 35,000. So that's cars, trucks. So obviously the chip shortage has already hampered that expectation. Now it's going to be significantly bolstered with the ongoing pandemic and with the war around the world. So according to Jeff Schuster, LMC's president in America, this is just another layer on top of an already fragile system, where we're going to see a lot of pressure on manufacturing side of the business here. And obviously the benefit of being a global company is you have access to different supply chains around the world, and making it easier for you to produce at an affordable rate, so you can maximize your revenue here. But the downside here, as the case in point has been mentioned, if there's going to be a shutdown or even a global shutdown, just like what the pandemic has showcased, it can severely hamper or incapacitate the ability of a business to function normally, especially if you're reliant on other countries or other regions for certain parts, right? And even if your parts is produced within the same country, but still, with catastrophes like this one or earthquakes like this scenario can severely hamper your operations. Now, it was mentioned here, the world's largest automaker by volume, okay, said 18 production lines at 11 plants, meaning out of their 28 lines at 14 plants would be down for 3 days to next week to supply problems caused by the earthquake. So, meaning obviously they have to check the situation, how much damage has it incurred, and will they need to get it fixed? How much? How long? Obviously, that would depend on the severity of the situation here. But one thing is for sure, this is going to impact the goal that they have set to produce more vehicles than what they originally anticipated. So according to Toyota, they mentioned that due to the part shortage resulting from suppliers being affected by the earthquake, additional adjustments will be made, obviously, to production operations in some plants in Japan as follows. Now, obviously, you have to temper now your expectation even lower if that's the case here. So you cannot expect your people to sell the same amount of vehicles than compared to, let's say, last year. Now, obviously, companies have been trying to rebound from, past 2 years of dilemma and difficulty of, low sales or till little to no sales at that. But obviously, with the way things are, I think you have to bite the bullet and, stay true the course. And eventually, you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel that eventually, it will correct itself. And hopefully, if you've done proper managing of your supply chain and expectations, I think Toyota can easily recover then in the next few years. It's only a temporary setback. Hopefully, it was mentioned here that the shutdowns were announced a day after Toyota cut production by as much as 150,000 already from April all the way to June due to growing supply chain. And this dilemma has exacerbated the situation here. So obviously, no one wants any company or country to go to this ordeal, but sometimes life happens and it's unpredictability. That's why companies has to be always prepared for whatever circumstances and have contingencies laid out if these situations do occur. And obviously, it's not the first time that the earthquake has hit Japan. So companies are more resilient now than ever. And for those who were not prepared, then hopefully it's a learning experience so that moving forward that they are able to cope better with the situation, so that as if you only have one supply chain that you're relying on, you should have multiple sources that you can rely on, so that it can pick up the slack here, so to speak. But easier said than that. Anyway, moving forward, a company that's I was surprised with this company that recently opened in Singapore. It's a sweet dessert company. The name is Shake Shack. Now, despite the pandemic, obviously, one would think one would be more cautious in terms of expanding their business worldwide, but that's not the case here. As mentioned, they've opened their branch in Singapore. So, according to insiders.com, Shake Shack has a line of desserts that are exclusive to Singapore. Now, will it reach to other ASEAN nations as well, even here in the Philippines? So, hopefully, sometime in the future. Depends on how successful can they be. So, we have the Miss Marielle Descalzota, who seem to enjoy the products that the Shake Shack is offering here now. So let's see what her feedback is. Is it a good choice or is it just a one-hit wonder? So let's dig deeper. Anyway, so Shake Shack opened a branch in Singapore way back in 2019. So this is roughly before the pandemic, and now has 8 outlets citywide. Now, what's driving customers to their stores? Must be something interesting or something delicious that they're offering that people are clamoring for more of their products here. Now, obviously, here in our country, we tend to favor sweet, so maybe Shake Shack can also thrive also here in our country. Who knows? Anyway, so it has exclusive menu of desserts, including one shake and three concretes. So anyway, so according to the feedback, the result is found the desserts were too sweet, which I think we can enjoy, and making it hard to finish eating them. So is it too sweet? Obviously, there's such a thing as sweet, then too sweet that you might not enjoy and finish the food that you just ordered here. So let's take a closer look here. Now, obviously, Shake Shack is a very popular fast food chain in the United States and has expanded by offering custards, as you can see here, fries, shakes, hot dogs. So they offer a variety of snacks items here. Obviously, that's why it's Shake Shack, right? But the question here is, will it be a hit in their country, continue to be a hit in their country, or will it fail? Especially with, people are starting to recover, having this new normal, so to speak, here. Anyway, Shake Shack, led by Danny Mayer, started as a hot dog cart. So, I mean, they started with humble beginnings, as with any company here, and has grown to where they are today. So, they have Shake Shack that opened their first restaurant in Jewel Changi Airport, which I think it's kind of strategic. Obviously, there's a lot of people traveling to and from the country, so it makes sense for them. But the question is, will it appeal to our market here in the Philippines here? So let's see what they're offering here. So you can see here, during during the pandemic last year, still people are still lining up to buy their products. So it must be interesting. Anyway, let's see what are the offerings that they have in their stores. So here she started with a pandan shake. I'm not a fan of pandan, but so at least they're offering that. So it looks like a shake of sorts. She mentions here the shake is made of vanilla custard. Not too fond of custard, but anyway, custard blend with coconut and mixed pandan, and a fragrant herb commonly used in Asian cuisine. So looks interesting. And she mentions that the shake is topped with gula malaka crumble, sorry, a sweetener made from palm sugar. Looks delicious. Anyway, she mentions that while she enjoyed the first few sips of fragrant blend of vanilla and pandan, quickly found that it was too cloying. So I mean, maybe it became too sweet. So especially the size that she ordered, I don't know if it's regular or large, but nonetheless, that if a food serving, if you cannot finish the food servings within the size that you ordered, I think it's a bit much here. Now let's see what else she tried out. Now she mentions that the serving was generous, as we can see in the photo earlier, but the shake was too rich, and she liked the taste of all the ingredients, but the mixture of sweet ingredients was too. Maybe it's not for her. Maybe for us, we like sweet shakes. We like teas and so forth. So maybe it would work for us. Now the price is around $8 for Singapore dollars, or $6. So around 300 bucks, I think. Yeah, $6, around 300 pesos here. Pretty expensive, right? Because you can order a fruit shake, I think less than $100. So it would be pretty expensive for a fast food chain here. Now, whether that would succeed, obviously, now they have other offerings here. So this got me interested. So they are offering two. It takes two to mango. Okay. So Shake Shack is calling its desserts concretes, which are frozen custard with toppings. So it's a bit more. The single concretes cost around $6, around $300, 300 pesos, and then the double costs around $10. So around 350 pesos. So it's a bit expensive, but if it tastes good, I think people would still buy it. So the tropical dessert have mango and sago pearls mixed into custard. I don't know about the custard. Maybe it would taste good. So I would be curious to try the product out. And it was topped with shortbread and freeze-dried mango. So I mean, looking at the picture, it looks enticing. Now the question is, will it get to our region here sometime in the near future here? Anyway, So looking forward to the company, expanding, doing well despite the difficulty that, many businesses are, struggling with the current situations here. Anyway, next we'll be discussing, yes, the infamous, what do you call this? The infamous Facebook company. And one of the interesting things about the company is, what they do, how do they generate their income or revenue is by selling ads. Companies, buy ads so that, the people or users in their platform are bombarded with advertisements so that, they can promote a certain service or product. And sad to say that, Facebook is going to extreme lengths to attract advertisers regardless of the consequence or regardless of whether the company is legit or not. And in this case, excuse me, according to techtimes.com, that, going that route at any extremes, Facebook is now facing lawsuit in Australia regarding the fake crypto ads using celebrities here. And obviously, crypto is a new form of investment, whether that's palatable to many people. Is it new? Is it reliable? Is it going to stay here for the next few decades? And so, you can debate that. But the problem is, obviously, companies are trying to drive up its popularity, more speculation, more people would invest, and it would drive up its value there. But the sad fact is they're using celebrities now, whether they know it or not knowing that they're being used to promulgate the platform here, which is, it's a double-edged sword. Obviously, if you're the celebrity who didn't know, then obviously you're supposed not to be allowed to do that. And obviously the platform that allowed it to proliferate should be held responsible, which is what Australia is doing here. Anyway, let's take a closer look here. So Facebook is facing the lawsuit from the Australian watchdog for scam cryptocurrency ads in the social media platform, which is obviously a very big platform. A lot of people are using it nowadays, which use faces of various celebrities and prominent personalities in the country. It's kind of scary. Obviously, with technology, they could use, deep fakes to simulate other TV personalities, known personalities, and use their face and say, I will promote, I like this product, or I like this currency, whether it's Bitcoin or Dogecoin and whatnot. But the problem is, what if it's fake? So obviously, if you were duped into buying or investing in those fake currencies, then who are you going to blame? Who will be held responsible? Now, obviously, you can held the company who posted those ads, but maybe you could, go after the company that allowed it to be posted in their platform so that it can be promoted, whether it's through illicit means or through, manipulative tactics, which is what they're doing here. Anyway, so according to Reuters, mentioned the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, or ACCC, brought the parent company Facebook, or Meta Platforms nowadays, to court for allegedly failing to prevent scam ads, which is, kind of irresponsible for a big company like Facebook or Meta. Anyway, so it mentions here that the Nation said that this alleged crypto scam ads on Facebook featured faces of celebrities or prominent personalities, which is obviously can easily confuse a regular consumer or regular bystander here. So the ACC added that the fraudulent ads, which were promoting various money-making schemes and crypto investments, are using famous Australians to lure in online folks on Facebook. Now, obviously, there are two sides to a coin here. That obviously you cannot just lay blame on the company, like in this case, Facebook, for their I would say fraudulent but misleading misuse of their platform. Obviously, as a citizen, you have to be responsible, since what do you call this? The rise of online manipulation, hack, cybersecurity is an all-time high, since we are even more reliant on technology and on the internet nowadays. So it's up to us to be vigilant and be aware that not everything that you see is true. So the question is, which one should you believe and which one should you not believe, is the difficult part now. So obviously, learning more about those different platforms or what they're offering is the key here, and knowledge is king. And once you recognize there are certain, if it looks fishy and sounds fishy, then it must be, unless you do some research or do your due diligence so that you can be at least, 80 to 90%, be assured that it's not a scam of any sorts. And obviously, if they're going to offer you freebies, then it should raise a lot of flags for most people. But that's not the case here. And I'm sure you know a lot of people that who were enticed to, let's say, they will give away a brand new iPhone or whatever device. Then you'll be tempted to join, to participate, and then by then it's too late. You've invested, or you've given your credit card, invested a lot of money, and it was for a lost cost to begin with. Anyway, it mentions here, according to the ACC, investment scams and fake investments ads that were found on Facebook included various well-known celebrities in Australia, such as TV host David Koch. Not to mention that the fraudster also featured personalities like the entrepreneur Dick Smith and former politician and premier of New South Wales Mike Baird. So, meaning using those known faces without even their permission is another issue. That's constitutes stealing, right? I mean, it's one thing you're taking a photo on public spaces, but it's another that you're using it to promote a product, or in this case, your platform here. Uh, the chairman of ACCC, Rob Sims, mentions that one of the victims of the fake ads on Facebook lost over a staggering of almost $500,000. So, meaning that's how bad it can be for just one person. So you just imagine how many people were already duped in that process. And obviously government can only do its part, but the citizens, meaning us individually, has to be vigilant and be aware of what's happening in our surroundings. Especially, obviously, it's not just in a social media platform, but whether it's mail, websites, even through text messages. I mean, obviously nefarious people always tries to find new ways to circumvent the process, and it's up to us to be vigilant and be aware that if you don't recognize, let's say, the source, the message, or in this case the ads, don't entertain it. It's just a waste of time, right? There's no quick easy way of earning the quick buck, and I think that's what entices a lot of people to take the plunge, so to speak, which is obviously can be dangerous if you're hoping that you can make a quick buck here, which is not the case here. Anyway, it's not the first time that Facebook has been in hot water for the alleged existence of fake ads impersonating prominent figures in the social media giant. And question is, what's Mr. Zuckerberg doing about this? I mean, is he promoting this such activities and doing nothing about it? Then the company should be held responsible. I mean, it's not just Apple that we're talking about it. Obviously, you have tech companies like Google, you have Apple, even Amazon, and even Microsoft should be held to a higher standard, because obviously we are even more reliant to their technology and will be beholden to their whims if we're not careful. So that the barrier that stops them from doing whatever they want are the governments that we elect to their positions here. Hopefully they could do a better job than in that what they've done in the past here. It was noted that the same story of an Australian billionaire, you have Andrew Forrest, previously brought the owner of Facebook to court in a criminal case after his image was used in fake ads on the platform. So it's kind of funny that for as big of a company as Facebook, they would allow those people, those companies, or fake companies to promulgate in their platform, which in the long run would provide a negative effect in their business. I could be wrong, but obviously at the end of the day, if people still use their platform, there's always more money to be made in their platform. That's just what I'm saying. Anyway, lastly, for our last topic, as I mentioned, so earlier we were discussing at the beginning that how a man's way of earning, decent living, could be derailed with what's happened with the recent pandemic and the ongoing pandemic. And obviously, that's not just businesses, but individuals has to adjust their approach or strategy in terms of how to generate income. Now, it's easier said than done, but obviously, when push comes to shove, one has to make a decision. Do you stay still and and do nothing, or do you take proactive action, as what the case here, which is, I recommend, commend, not recommend, sorry. Anyway, according to Inquirers.net, a jeepney driver was forced to have a second job, which is set for a third job. Now, obviously, one would think that's kind of sad if you think about it, but it's by necessity. Now, obviously, as a jeepney driver, it's never an appealing profession because in terms of longevity here, obviously, you have to drive the vehicle day in and day out, and just to earn a small sum of money. And it was pretty lucrative before the pandemic, but things have changed in terms of increase of price hike and so forth. Now, let's see here in the case of this article. The person we're talking about here is Mr. Salvador Bernardo, who he has to wake up early, make several trips in the metro, in particular in Quezon City. So he typically finishes his 5 trips by evening around 7 p.m. Now, in his case, he's able to purchase, or he has his own car, or his own jeepney, which is kind of difficult because if there's a lot of jeepneys around in the metro, which causes a lot more traffic, so I don't know if it's more beneficial or not. And the government is trying to veer away from combustible engine and veering towards to electric powered vehicle, which is another issue. And now the earnings of jeepney driver has been driven to an all-time low here, obviously with competition with other means of transportation here. So obviously it got him thinking as to what is his option here, rather than fold and give up. Obviously, no one wants to do that. So you find other means to be able to earn a living for yourself and for your family. So it used to be that he was able to earn a little over 2,000 pesos to 2,500 bucks. That's not the case now. So if you think about the costings here, after the pandemic, has you only have, I don't know, 250 daily. Yeah, so that's a drastic drop of what you're earning a few years earlier. So what he did was find another job, which is doing deliveries from Grab and Uber services, which he is able to recoup some of those lost money by using a motorcycle to deliver the goods and stuff, which I use also, in fairness. And he's able to support his family, which is kudos for him for finding alternatives here, which I think it's a viable alternative rather than just which is more laborious, kind of difficult. And I have a pet peeve with regards to jeepney drivers because of them being not held to a higher standard compared to other private drivers here in the metro here. And obviously, if they do get into trouble, they're not even penalized or held liable for their neglect or being irresponsible, driving recklessly in the roads. So I think it's high time that government should intervene. It should be regulated by the government so that people could get better service, because as you may see, different jeepney operators offer different a variety of service, which is a mixed bags of good service to terrible service, which is we expect more, especially how the jeepney is set up. As you can see in the photo, it's not too economical. As you can see here, it's there's supposed to be social distancing, right? How's that going to be possible? But with the new vehicles, unless they change how the jeepney layout looks like, I think that's not going to change anytime. Especially the, I don't know, the older version, which it can only accommodate a smaller number of passengers. So another issue there. But obviously, kudos for Mr. Salvador Bernardo in finding ways to find other means. Now, obviously, not everyone could find an alternative quickly because you're beholden or tied up with your current position or job right now. That's why I think the government has a bigger role in helping out people in difficulty, small businesses, and jeepney drivers and whatnot. And especially with the coming elections, I think people has to speak their minds that they are not satisfied with what our government is offering, and we expect more and we deserve more from all the services that we're paying for our taxes here. And we seem not to get the benefit of the doubt of I think our politician who's running for office have a different agenda altogether, which I don't want to get into that right now. But the point of the matter is, hardworking people should be rewarded and not penalized for not trying to make a good living for themselves and for their family. Anyway, I think that concludes our discussion for today. It's kind of heated if you notice all the topics that we've been covering here. Anyway, all the topics is posted in our description below. So if you're interested in checking out the whole article, you can read it later on. As always, if you enjoyed watching the video and the content, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to help support and grow the channel. So we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. So let's make it. Let's help make it get there and hopefully beyond 1,000 subscribers. Anyway, as always, I'll see you again next week, same time, same channel. Take care.